This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer.
The trial of Chad Daybell continuing on and continuing to get more and more dark and damning for Chad Daybell. I don't think there's a lot of, hope for him at this point, considering we have everyone from neighbors to his mom saying all sorts of interesting things about Chad, to say the least. Joining me to discuss, Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI Special Agent. We haven't talked about the trial for about a week or so before we go into hearing from mom and some of the neighbors and such. What's been your takeaways over the last week or so in the trial?
I mean, really, Tony, it's such a redo of the Lori Vallow trial, and the evidence remains just so strong. I think it was interesting that they are, focusing in obviously on Chad's involvement, but honestly, there's very little difference between the Chad Daybell trial and the Lori Vallow trial, in my opinion. Did you have the same takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm feeling it's sitting, where I feel like the defense for Chad is being, I guess, a little more vocal. I don't think it's necessarily vocal in the right direction. I keep saying it feels like John Pryor's up there filling time and not necessarily bringing a whole lot to the table. But I just feel like he's got his hands tied. I don't think anybody, no matter how talented of an attorney they could possibly be, you could bring in the best of the best. And I don't think there's a whole lot to work with there.
It's true. Facts always speak. But in this case, the facts are screaming.
Yeah.
And there's really, how are you going to discredit his mom and neighbors?
Exactly.
He doesn't have much to work with. How are you going to discredit the police investigation? I mean, from everything we're seeing here, they did a good job. The Bureau did a good job. So it's just one of these cases that they can't dismantle.
Yeah, without a doubt. Let's take a listen to Chad's neighbor when he had an interaction with Chad's kids. And this is not Tylee and JJ. This is Chad's kids from Tammy and his previous marriage, when talking about the life with Lori.
Did you ever have occasion to talk with Chad about how his kids felt about Lori?
Yes. When we would see him, he would already kind of bring it up himself, that they were fine with Lori, that Tammy had appeared to him in spirit, I don't know, at least twice, and said that she was doing fine and that she understood the plan, that she was going to move on in the spirit world, and then that Chad's mission was to be married to Lori, and that his children were basically becoming fine with that.
Now, in any other part of the country, if you were to bring this up to your neighbor like that and have that sort of a conversation, you might be looked at a little strangely. There, I don't know. It's just kind of part of the conversation, part of the belief system. And it's just like, oh, yeah, well, she showed up and, well, she's gone and it's God's will. Must be right. What's your take on the neighbor's reaction to all of this?
Well, Tony, it always just, I don't know, irritates and really, quite frankly, disgusts me when people use religion to excuse murder, and murder of two young children and murder of a innocent wife. Mm-hmm. It's all really sick. But I thought it was interesting how, like you said, sort of nonchalant the neighbor is recounting this discussion. I think it was very important for Chad through all this religion, he was supposed to be a religious leader, to say, hey, listen, she's fine with it. She was fine with dying and, being murdered, and to sort of justify the existence with Lori. I think the jury, this is absolutely going to sicken the jury.
I would hope so. I would hope so that it's not just accepted. And when we talk about Tammy, that's an interesting one, because Tammy, initially, the death was ruled natural causes. And then we only found out it was asphyxia by digging the body back up. Here's the person who did the second autopsy once the body was exhumed.
What did you determine the cause of death to be?
We ruled her cause of death to be asphyxia.
What did you determine her manner of death to be?
We determined her manner of death to be homicide. Asphyxia means that the person was unable to get enough oxygen. Smothering of any type, anything that blocks the mouth and nose could lead to asphyxia. Choking, anything that blocks the airway internally, whether it's food or something stuffed in someone's mouth or whatever, maybe all of those things can lead to asphyxia.
And when you use the term homicide, can you talk about what that means in relation to your office?
It's a determination of the circumstances surrounding the death, and it means to us that another person was involved in that person's death. It does not imply intent, although it does not exclude it either.
Very telling, if you will. My question to you initially is, okay, when somebody is dead and they go in and they determine, okay, well, they need to obviously get this body buried at some point in time. Why didn't they look into this further? Did they just take the word of Chad going, oh, she's not in the greatest health and we don't need an autopsy, we're all good? Why wasn't there a red flag here saying we need an autopsy? This is someone who really shouldn't have died at this young of an age. It seems a little odd, but they just took his word for it, it seemed. Is that what happened?
It happened, and it does happen where the person that goes in is just very convincing. And like you said, they explain medical conditions, and I'm sure he shed a lot of tears and seemed to show a lot of compassion and sadness. And he was taken at his word. Yeah. And that's really unfortunate, but it happens often.
That's scary. That's really scary to think about, that they missed it with Chad, but like how many other people have died of natural causes, and it really wasn't natural causes. I mean, I guess the big thing is if you can act really well in that moment in time, there you go. You got away with murder. And I'm wondering how many people get away with murder for that exact same reason.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free,
so you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.